welcome to the guys. This is Obsidian Chill. Got another video for you today, and this is going to be introducing the two World of Flashpoint artifacts, Cersei's Mask and Pied Piper's Flute. Now, ideally, I would have had this video up for you weeks ago when the DLC was on test server and it wasn't on a live server yet, but didn't work out that way. Seemed like to be breaking more promises than I'm keeping them in terms of my upload schedule. But here they are nonetheless. So if you haven't leveled them up, then I can get you a breakdown of them here. So Cersei's Mask, they obviously the exact same breakthrough. We'll touch on the Cersei's Mask Shackles Unleashed first. So rank 80, you're looking at healing increased by 10%, and you get to for 10% for 4 seconds, and additionally stop to 2 targets. So what that means is that when your shield is broken, so any power that has that shield animation, not animation, but the shield yellow text, that's just how it's classified as a shield, except Amazon Deflection, which doesn't work, which I'll show you in the video. And then obviously dash attack isn't a shield, so it doesn't work for that either. But essentially the concept of is when you have your shield broken by damage, you get extra healing in and you stun enemies around you. So it's kind of the concept where the reason why your shield broke is that you took too much damage from like a dog pile of ads, and now you get extra healing from the healer or yourself as like for say fire. And then you also get to stun enemies around you, so kind of win-win. So 120, it's at 20% for 5 seconds with 2 enemies. Rank 160, 20% for 5 seconds with 5 enemies. And rank 200 is 30% for 6 seconds and 5 enemies. And the base stats, 760, 50 health, 382 resto, 637 dom. So that's the same as Manacles. 5% health, 4% dom, 3% resto. So it's a pure tank artifact. And then with Pied Piper's Flute, this is more of like a general supercharge artifact. So when you use a supercharge, you have a 50% chance to do 15% of the damage as additional. So basically, it's bonus damage. So when you have a supercharge, if you deal a supercharge, you have an X amount of chance to do additional damage over time because of that supercharge. So it's just basically bonus damage. So that's at 80 and rank 120. You have a 50% chance to do 15%, 10% chance to do 30, and then you don't have a chance to do the 45% extra. So basically, think of it like if you're hitting like munitions big gun, you hit the big gun for 1.1 mil, and then you have 10% chance to do 45% of that 1.5 mil again as additional damage. So that's that concept. So rank 160, you have a 70% chance to do 15, 20% chance to do 30, 0 point for 45. And then at rank 200, you have a 70% chance for 15, 20 for 30, and then 10 for 45. But the issue is that the base stats in terms of the health, power, and might, that's the same stats as the single target artifact. No. Why am I drawing a blank on that artifact right now? Well, that's frustrating. I own the artifact. It's not the amulet. Is it the amulet? Might be the amulet. Might hit this time. Whatever. This is the single target artifact, the single target finisher artifact. Could be the same as amulet. Correct me if I'm wrong, obviously, but I mean the base stats is kind of inconsequential. When you look at here, 5% health, 4% power, 3% might. So this is a drastic decrease in terms of stats if you're running like Grim or Solar. It's just 3% might is a huge drawback in terms of also having 1275 base. So the stats on this artifact are definitely not worth it to run 100% of the time. This is going to be an artifact where you hot swap in. So what I mean by that is that before you run a supercharge, you pop in this artifact, hit your supercharge, get the bonus damage, and then switch back to like Grim or something else. The artifact is not going to be good enough to run all the time. So let's jump into the game. I'll show you the Cersei's Mask first, and then we'll jump into the Pied Piper's Flute. So join me in game. Okay, so now you've seen the rank breakthroughs and the statistical breakdown. Let's show it actually in practice. I'm just going to start off as fire just so I can show the healing difference. So when your shield's broken, you have healing increased by 30% for 6 seconds. This is at rank 200. The stunning enemies, I'll show that with a different power set. It's just easy to show this is fire with the healing in. So with fire, the old immolation would have been amazing. If it would have been the old immolation, in terms of that, a base shield multiplier was barely above density. If that would have broken all the time with manacles to reset it, fire would be a god tank, way better than rage. But now immolation, it doesn't have a set base shield multiplier. It's not 100% absorption. It's 35%. It's kind of extended, so it's more a mitigation shield. But it's not. It's still a shield by description, I guess you could say, but it's not a shield in practice. So it leaves hard light shield, dash attack, which I don't normally run the supercharge with fire, so kind of mixing that, and then Amazon Deflection doesn't proc with. So I'm going to test that again just to show you here, just to show that it doesn't, but for whatever reason, even though it's supposed to work with the shield text, I'm not sure if it's block and shield overriding it, but it wasn't working before, so we can try it again. So I'll take some damage from Doomsday, we'll see if we can proc it, and I'll show you the healing from Backdraft and Stoke Flames before and after. So we're looking at like 27k crits. Base is like 12, 13. Backdraft, we're looking at like 31. Let's see if I can get a crit. 33. 32. Give me a critical. Doesn't want to cooperate. Show me a critical. Isn't it lovely when stuff doesn't work when you need it to? Can you crit once? Okay, 64k crit. Okay, that's good enough. So we'll save again for procs and Amazon Deflection. Take a look for the purple animation. No. So Amazon Deflection is proc. So we'll do Hard Light Shield. Now once again, pay attention for the purple animation. Okay, so now it broke. So now we're up to 38s. We're up to 15s. We're up to 40k base with Backdraft. And this is not counting heals from like a healer as well. This is just me healing myself as fire. So that's where you can see where the 30% applies to. I didn't even get a crit. We'll see if I can get a crit again. See if Backdraft wants to cooperate this time. For the video. See, even with no Dom spec, there it is. 39. 40, come on, give me a crit. So useless. So you can see how long immolation is going to take to break. $39s again. 43s, but that put me at full health anyway. Well, you get the idea there. So you can see the healing increase. You see how effective it is. Well, fire doesn't have a lot of options. I mean, you can run dash attack, but I usually don't run dash attack in most raising situations. You might have a couple, but with like if you're running like if you do like a resto build with like Burning Termination, Backdraft, and Stoke Flames, that's huge healing in. Plus, you have all the healing in from the extra healing in from healer just because you're fire. So immolation eventually will break. Same with Hard Light Shield if you're using both. But this is how it looks like as fire, so it gives you that idea of what that healing is actually going to look like. So what I'll do is we'll show some examples as the other power sets as well, just so you can kind of see. 76k crit there, just to bring you up to full. So I mean, that was a crit even at full. So a full crit that's not going to put me at full health, we're looking into like the 80 or 90ks. So let's jump on to the next example here. So with Ice doesn't have the same drawbacks as other tank power sets. You've got Reflection, which is a shield, Winter Ward's a shield, Shadow Restraints is a shield, Hard Light Shield's a shield, Dash Attack's a shield. I mean, technically Hibernation's a shield, but not to use that as a supercharge. But you got shields, coming out the wazoo. You can have pretty much 6 shields in the rotation. Now, the advantages here is that Reflection has a much lower base shield multiplier, only 12 seconds. You've got Shadow Restraints being 18 seconds and incredibly weak base shield multiplier. So you can consistently proc these with this artifact all the time. Winter Ward's a bit stronger. It's just below Hard Light Shield. but then you've got 18 seconds versus 30 seconds. So, you know, with the right rotation, you can pretty much constantly have not only the extra 30% healing in, but you have the stunning targets, which ice doesn't, you know, ice doesn't have any stun outside of Resonating Gale. So if you are safe running Escapable Storm and 5 shields, like on a boss attack, now you have the ability to have crowd control on a boss fight with ads without having to take Resonating Gale. You may still want to take Resonating Gale regardless, but just because you can't always control when the shield's going to proc. But I mean, you have that. You don't always need crowd control to survive. But now you're going to have the ads breaking your shields constantly in a boss fight, for example. Like say Grodd with like the eyes and stuff like that. Actually, that's a bad example because you can't CC the eyes. What is a good example? I mean, you can go back to like Phoenix Cannon with like Lady Blackhawk with all those ads on Lady Blackhawk fight. So any kind of fight with boss and ads, the ads are going to break your shield as ice. Now you get extra healing in for survivability. Not that you really have any healing in your abilities yourself, but now they kind of augment, say, anything else. So you have the stacking ability with Cersei's Mask, and if I go down here to Mystic, so Mystic, now we get the extra healing in. From Mystic, increased healing received by 10%. Now we're getting also healing increased by 30%. So you've got those working together if you're running those artifacts. I'm just running every man, so I don't have the healing from Mystic interfere. But it's right now this artifact is 100% designed for ice. It's basically it's ice's drawbacks in terms of healing, in terms of crowd control abilities. It kind of supplements all that. Because even with like Earth, Epicenter's a pretty good crowd control move. Same with Backdraft. In Earth, you've got Jackhammer, or if you're running Unstoppable for the Supercharge and the PI clip, stuff like that. You've got Atomic, obviously has amazing crowd control. You know, Ice didn't really have that. You had because it's all shields. So now you have that ability. So kind of show that here. See if it'll work. Let's go Shatter. Once again, I don't have any Dom specs, so I'm hoping this will break. Or just expire. There you go. So, you get the stun there. So, not a hard stun, but still. I mean, it's a 200 rank. It's going to be up to 5 targets. So, I don't think I can actually CC those weapons anyway. Sorry, there's a lack of hard-hitting ads. Same thing, I can jump straight into Shatter now. They're going to break out, start attacking. I can just juggle back. So, you know, you're not going to get that healing in example unless I ran like Mystic just to show that as an example, but you do get the example of the actual stunning effect. So, like I said before, it's just really everything with this artifact is just 100% designed for ice. If you're an ice tank, you'd be absolutely silly not to run this artifact. It's just perfectly designed for it. Now, if you're another tank power set, it doesn't work out the best there. So I wonder if I can show this example as Atomic. Because I'm probably going to kill those things. But at least I can show the example regardless. Because Atomic you think could be useful because Density is the weakest shield. Mass Density being the strongest, so you definitely don't want to use it from Mass Density. That'd be kind of pointless. Density, but then the problem is that your actual combo system, where's Thermochemical gone? Nah. I am drawing a blank on. No, I don't want to add splitter. There. That took way too long. Oh, you can also see the new UI changes there on the right hand side. Usually all those powers would be in the center. So we'll probably end up killing these things, but at least just show an example. So, for example, if I pop Density, and then I'm in my comboing system. The problem is thermochemicals is going to juggle. It's going to constantly juggle these things. So I'm not really taking damage enough for it to break, but the problem is that, you know, if I let density expire, so we'll do this. I'm going to kill those things, but let's find another ad set here. Only mistakes to break. Might have to pull a second set. So now they're stunned. You know, if I'm going back into like thermochemical now, you know, they're going to have a completely different immune breakup profile. These ones are probably 0 willpower, so it's probably not the best example. It's going to be hard to show without a raid example, but what I mean is that thermochemicals is always going to juggle. You're going to consistently be juggling these enemies the entire time, especially more if you're running Atom Splitter. Not that I recommend both, unless it's like a lower tier example, like a lower raid. But if you're running constantly thermochemical and then have density breaking out, because density is the weakest tank shield, if you constantly have that breaking out and stunning ads, then you're going to constantly overlap and make the ads immune so that you can't juggle them, and then you're more susceptible to damage because you have no protection from the juggle. So, and the same thing is Atomic's healing in is mechanic based. So my auras healing in is based on 40% of my dominance and then 2% of my max health. So having increased healing in means absolutely nothing to me. The only thing that healing in is going to affect is the healer and proton remedy. So, I mean, it's the same thing with ice. You don't have any healing in, you just have actual shields to mitigate that. But I mean, it's an artifact that you're not needed as Atomic. Same thing with rage. So what's 30% extra healing in going to do for rage? Nothing. And I mean, even the same thing when you're thinking about stunning ads, yeah, that's kind of helpful as rage, but at the same time, you don't really need, rage doesn't need to stun and juggle ads anyways, because you have that survivability from not only Mystic, from the extra defense, but you also have it from the health increased and the healing back. So, I mean, just think of it how easy rage can tank like all the Empress Eyes or a huge dog pile of ads. They don't need to be constantly stunning and doing those ads to survive, like say Ice would with having to like always stun Resonant Gale. Rage just survives normally. I mean, as long as you can kite with rage, they're not going to do enough damage fast enough to kill you through your healing. So that extra 30% does nothing because it's not impacting your mechanic heals. Same thing with Atomic. I mean, Earth, you could argue for it, but same thing. It's just really, in the end, it's an amazing artifact to have, but it's strictly designed for ice. Every aspect of this artifact enhances ice, and there's no drawbacks. Where there's drawbacks for fire, there's drawbacks for rage, there's drawbacks for Atomic, there's massive drawbacks for Atomic, and then Earth kind of doesn't really matter. So it's just, Mystic is already good enough, Manacles is already good enough. A lot of tanks run Eye of the Gemini for shield super spam, so then you run like Mystic, Manacles, and Eye of the Gemini, or some tanks will run Everyman Artifact. So it's just, there's other options out there where Circe's Mask isn't required, but I would say it is. I wouldn't even say it's required for Ice because you still have to drop Gemini or Manacles, or Mystic. But Circe's Mask will help an Ice tank way more than any other tank power sets. So hopefully in those limited examples you can kind of understand for what I'm saying, but you'll see it right away in a raid. Take care, guys. Thanks for watching. Okay, so jumping to Pied Piper's Flute. This is the new DPS artifact. I want to put this more as like a TBD, to be determined, because I'm not entirely, I can be entirely sure this artifact is not working correctly and that you shouldn't level at this time, but it's an artifact that has the potential to do well when I think everything is worked out, because really what I'm seeing on the testing on not only sparring targets, but what I'm seeing in raids is I'm not just seeing it and working correctly. So let's jump into the artifact, at least tell you what it does and what it should do. So basically this is going to be at rank 200. I'm not going to really mess around with the other lower ranks. You saw those in the initial video, but I mean, an artifact like this you'd want to have at a higher rank to have, because at 200 rank you get a 10% chance to do 45%, and that's the only at 200. So I mean, obviously if you want the most out of your supercharge, depending on your power set, you'd obviously want this at 200. But the way to think of it to look like, or the way you should think about how working is that it's a 10-sided dice. So when you roll, so each time you hit a supercharge, the game throws a 10-sided dice. So 7 of those 10 sides has a chance to do 15%. 2 of those 2 sides of the dice have a 20% chance to do 30%, and then 1 side of the dice of that 10 has a chance to do 45%. At least that's the easiest way I saw to look at it. I'm pretty sure that's not how it's actually functioning, but that's how you should look at it. So what that means is that the artifact should do something every time you hit a supercharge, but it's not. So let's, for example, here, obviously because the damage increases, this is going to be more beneficial for like a 10,000. It's just really awkward to test this on test server because we don't have the consumable anymore. So I'm just going to kind of do the 50% temporal vortex. So we'll pop vortex here. So as you saw, nothing happened. What's supposed to happen is you're supposed to get a swarm. Basically, you can call them rats or whatever, swarm. Basically, this is going to do that extra damage. So nothing happened. So it should happen. I've got the artifact equipped. I hit a supercharge. 10-sided dice. Something should happen. I should either got 10% or 20, or I'm guaranteed to get 7%. That's how, at least I'm understanding how this artifact works. But like I said before, obviously that's not how it's working, or I would have got something. So we can try it again here. This is why it's really awkward to test this, because it takes a while to build supercharge. And I'm not going to spend 4 or 5 hours or a few hours testing an artifact if it's broken. So let's try to do this again to show you if it's actually going to work here. We'll let the dot stop. So we'll try vortex again. Nothing happened. Let's try even speed drain. Nothing on speed drain. Can I even get it to work once? Maybe I can re-equip it here just to actually show you guys what the artifact does. See, this shouldn't happen. I mean, if you're going to level an artifact to 200 and have an effect, it has to do something each time. Like, I don't care. Every supercharge I hit, even if it does 15%, I mean, yeah, that's terrible, but I mean, at least it did something. Right now, I have invested what $150, $200 to an artifact. This is obviously on test server, but on live server you would have invested $150, $200 into an artifact with catalyst and everything, and it does nothing. So let's try this again. Temporal vortex. Wow, is it really not going to even proc once for you guys? Maybe I shouldn't try this on single target. Well, we all know my luck is terrible anyway, so I mean, it shouldn't really surprise anyone that I'm rolling a 10-sided dice and getting nothing. So let's try this on 3 targets. See, there you go. I mean, that's why you call it rats, or the swarm of rats, but you'll see that here. Pied Piper Flute, damage for 3,076. And what, that only hit twice? Yeah, so it hit twice out of all those opportunities on 3 targets. So maybe let's try let's build up a vortex trap here. Or a temporal vortex, I mean. But I mean, even the concept of the artifact is you ideally want to get that 10%. But I mean, 10%, you're rolling a 10-sided dice, they're getting that one thing. I mean, you pretty much have to hit Yahtzee each time. But I mean, if you're using like a supercharge like Oblivion or like Earthquake or Big Gun, Call of the Deep, those big 10,000 supercharges are going to hit for like 1.5, 2 mil or whatever on crits on a supply drop. If you get 45% of that 2 mil again as damage, that's really great. But the problem is actually getting that in content. And you can see here on the sparring targets, it's barely working. It's only worked once, and that was only 2 times on all those multiple hits of speed drain. And on top of that, you have to build your supercharge up each time after a fail. So let's even let's even jump to 8 targets here. Didn't work. Okay. Well, I mean, you get the picture, but you don't get the picture. But I mean, I can't consistently keep trying and wasting time. Well, let's do this one more time. Let's do an Oblivion. So let's jump to the Watchtower. I mean, this is how I have to test supercharges right now. This is how it's made. Not very easy from the developer side point of view, considering they took away that artifact, or took away the consumable. So I have to go to Patchwork Themyscira. I have to have previously farmed the materials to buy the yellow consumable. Then I have to drink a consumable. That has a 10-minute cooldown, by the way. And then now I can go back to the Watchtower, back to my League Hall, and test 1 supercharge. That's how you gotta do it. Either that or you spend like 5 minutes just hitting your supercharge regenerator with like Scrap the Soul Cloak and like extended supercharge chest mod and like Oblivion supercharge Oblivion in your head mod. All for an artifact that's not gonna work. And I mean, this was mentioned on test server too. We just thought it was inconsistent when we weren't seeing it because we were doing raids with this Pied Piper's Flute on, and I just wasn't seeing any procs. I thought I would notice the procs or notice the increase in damage. I just wasn't seeing it. And then another player, AVTV, was trying it too, and he wasn't getting any procs on Fireball Barrage because it was like multi hits. It seems to be more inconsistent on like projectile based supercharges, but he wasn't seeing anything either. And he did some more in testing. And got the same results that I did, that it wasn't working consistently. So let's try Oblivion. Okay, so I've got Pied Piper, it's re-equipped. I've got Scrap. I mean, transformation doesn't matter. Well, it actually does impact. Actually, no. Let's eliminate, just in case transformation card is breaking Pied Piper's Flute, because technically it's increasing the criticals. Let's just put on something else. Whatever. Soul Shard, it's not going to impact anything. So nothing else is impacting the artifact. I have Pied Piper's Flute. I'm going to hit Oblivion. Not a single proc on all those hits. All the hits of Oblivion. Not a single proc of the Pied Piper's Flute. So there you have it, guys. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. I can't sit and test for hours on an artifact that's only going to work. It worked once this entire time. This is retiring recording. It's worked once on 2 procs of speed drain on 3 targets. Even in my testing before recording this, it was working more often than that. So right now, 1000%, do not put any XP into this artifact until we know that it's actually working correctly. This artifact is not working as intended. And I'm not really sure how it should be working intended. I mean, the 10-sided dice makes sense, but I mean, then your luck to get that 10% on the 45% chance is so low. I mean, it's not even worth that. And the same thing, like I said before, is 3% might. And I did actually, me struggling was Lamort. I wanted to say Lamort. I even think I said that, but I was talking about Lamort. So it's got the same stats as Lamort. A little bit extra health, but I mean, same thing. It's not an artifact you're going to wear all the time. It's an artifact you're just going to sub in before you hit a supercharge. But then at the same time, you probably should be subbing in like either Gemini or subbing in Scrap the Soul Cloak. So while there's the potential for a damage increase right now, it's not working as intended. So like I said, TBD. Once this artifact gets fixed, I'll make a more in-depth video on it. But like I said before, it's just really annoying to test this. And to do all that work just to do 1 Oblivion, and then it doesn't work, and then I have to sit and spam Anomaly until I get it back again. Just a wee bit frustrating. So we'll see you in the next video, guys. Next video coming up is the combat pet tier system. Take care, guys.